Make some noise for your host, Kid Copious.
What up, perps? Kid Copious. Back in the bunker, Purple State Party, representing everything that's common sense and central. Basically good for America, good for the people, good for the world, good for the planet. You know, I just want to say, because there's been a lot of talk about third parties, so-called Patriot Party. You know, problem with the third party way of thinking right now is it's about drawing voters from, right, the Patriot Party. All it is to fuck all the Republicans who didn't support Trump in the end. Okay. Not saying you're not justified in your anger, but pulling from one party is not helpful because then it strengthens the other party. That's why Purple State's here. You know, Purple State is for the people who believe in a lot of the common sense, believe in America, believe in 1776, anti-Marxism, pro-LGBT, pro-gun, pro-border security, pro-pot. But also, I ain't against Christianity. I'm not against Christian beliefs. I understand Christian beliefs. I really do. I just think we're on crazy train, man. And the worst part about it is the media painted out the Republicans as all these white supremacists and Nazis and all this bullshit, and they want to call us nationalists. They want whatever. They want to smear us, And then we've seen what goes on. You hated Trump, good. Okay, I get it. You didn't like him. You had a grudge, whatever. Didn't like his personality. Okay. So you voted for this fucking idiot. This guy who has spent over he's been in politics almost as long as I've been alive. And I never heard anything good about him. And when he was vice president, he was meh. Meh. At best. And Kamala Harris, nobody trusted her. Nobody wanted her to be president. But yet they're sitting there because you voted with your hearts, not your head. You voted for stupid-ass promises that when you scratch the surface, they're revealed to be false. What we can do about the global climate change, we're going about it all the wrong way. Punishing fossil fuels, which just drives all kinds of industries around the world, is not the answer. Killing rail projects, we're gonna get to that a little bit, but we're just gonna start off. We had the inauguration and he took over. And if you don't know what he's been up to, then you're not paying attention. But, right here, this was just the first quote that I saw. I don't necessarily agree with everything Giuliani says. Whatever. He is what he is. But anyhow, he once said reliance on that is dictatorial. And look what he's done. He said that when Trump did it, it was a dictator. When he does it, it's necessary. There's a problem in that, no matter which side of the fence you sit on. There's a problem that we're just going to go through this endless cycle of undoing what the other person did simply because they did it. And some of the things that he's undone are just stupid, meaningless. They're petty. They don't accomplish anything. Protections to help keep prescription drug prices down. The Keystone Pipeline, which is far safer than rail. It's cheaper than rail. And now, as it turns out, a lot of that fuel that was going to come to Texas for processing for us to use is now going to go to China. And we all know that they don't believe in catalytic converters. They don't believe in a cleaner environment. They only believe in themselves and money. Money, money, money. Yeah. Like this. Take that, Donald Trump. You see, that's what we don't need. That's petty bullshit, okay? I understand. Trump did some of it too. I didn't like it then either. Some of it made sense. Some of it didn't. But destroying that when it's being built, apparently he's stopping it, even though the materials in place and contracts are in place. It's just stupid. It's just symbolic. And I don't give a shit about symbolic. Symbolic doesn't do anything for me at the end of the day. I want security. I want something for my taxes. I come from an age when, people didn't necessarily lock their doors until the Night Stalker came here, but that's a different story. But we stayed out as kids. We didn't have to worry about random homeless people, crap like that. Gangs, it's mostly with fists. Didn't really affect the average person. But, talking about, ooh, you're a dictator if you use executive orders. He blew everybody away. I mean, everybody who came before him had a total of 7. He doubled all the presidents. And that really shows. I mean, look, for the first 3 days, Trump only did 1. So how many things did he immediately undo from Obama in the first 3 days? Only 1. Because that's the only one that he did. I don't even know what it was. I'm not even going to research because it's meaningless. But this illustrates AF Bronco here. I love his political cartoons because, I come from back in the day when those were our memes. Our memes were in newspapers. You had to go out and buy a piece of paper and it had memes on it. Yeah, that's just the way it is. But it does look that way. He's already been linked in many ways, getting financial loans and things like that from the Chinese. And, he wants to do away with America first. And think about that. Because you live in America. If you voted for Biden, then you, by default, live in the United States. I don't want to know the numbers. I'm sure there's people who live elsewhere who still vote. There's dead people who voted, apparently. But anyhow, that's what I was worried about, and that's what we're getting. And that's what we're seeing. Rejoining the World Health Organization, and the World Health Organization turns around and says, there's not enough evidence that it started in China. Come on. Stuff like this. I mean, I understand that this is a small problem. It's probably, but this is one of, Democrats rely on symbolism and pie in the sky dreaming and ideals and all of that. And decisions like this, like when you open the door to community centers raising the prices on insulin, that affects minorities and poor people. I mean, that's just the way it is. It affects white people who can't afford insurance, and there's a lot of people out there like that, man. But, it affects the very people who you were saying you were there to protect. They're not. Democrats aren't anymore. Don't buy that. They talk about equality for all, but then they set up a thing that is, in the spirit, unfair on women. Because it would allow men who, even with lower testosterone levels, still possess bodies that are stronger and faster. I'll look it up, and it'll be here. If I didn't find it, it won't be here. But one of the world's fastest women, her time in the 400 meter could be beat by high school boys. So it is, at the very heart, at the spirit of it, it's unfair towards women. To placate a smaller minority, but a smaller minority that, gets a lot of the publicity right now. And there's nothing wrong with that. I'm all for trans rights, man. I don't care, but there are reasons. There are reasons why blind people cannot be Air Force pilots. There are reasons for things. Not everything is just based on hatred and phobias. Sometimes there's just reasons. And this is one of those where it's a gray, blurry line that can be exploited. So why even allow it? I'm just saying. I mean, that's just the way it is. I mean, I would assume this is no different than like the Paralympics, where they're like, I'm sorry, but the fact that you have a broken finger doesn't mean you can compete here. Just because people could fake things, people could whatever, and it's just unfair, and that's not the spirit of how we're supposed to do things. We're not supposed to do things that are at the spirit unfair. At least that's what I've been taught. And then he gets this guy as a climate czar. I mean, you think about how much energy, 6 houses, 12 cars, 2 yachts, and a private jet. That's a fucking King Kong sized carbon footprint right there. And he's the guy, the climate czar. I mean, I used to go to golf courses and pick out Marlboro Miles and aluminum cans and recycle the aluminum cans and get free shit for the Marlboro Miles. I've been doing my part for a long time, man. One of my biggest regrets is remembering the time where I threw all of my Burger King trash out a car window. I still regret that to this day, and I think that might have been like my second year in high school. him, I mean, whatever, you know. But this goes to the heart of the problem that I have with that side is that one of the great mistakes is to judge policies and programs by their intentions rather than results. And when you're talking about lives, jobs, billions of dollars, don't you want your leaders to be looking at results? The Paris Accord, even if it even succeeds, is not enough to lower the planet's temperature. The Keystone is not going to stop that gas from being that carbon-rich fossil fuel. They call it fossil fuel now. The reason they call it fossil fuel is because they want you to remember that's the old way. It's Marxism 101, man. Rewrite history. Who cares? Yes, it's fossil fuel, whatever. It's made from fossils. But anyhow, they want to get rid of this. They want to reduce carbon. But how are they going to sail cruise ships? Nuclear reactors? Because they don't like those. Because the biggest things we put around this planet, as far as I know, are big-ass submarines and big-ass aircraft carriers, and they run on nuclear reactors. All the other boats are running on some form of diesel fuel. You can't generate enough power out of electricity. You just can't. Electricity, especially let's talk about planes for a quick second. You imagine that you need to have batteries for the engines, so you would then need to have you'd have to have another engine to compensate for the batteries, and so on and so on. I forgot to do this. There you go. You see what I mean? Like, you can't build an electric jumbo jet. I just don't. I don't see how that would even be possible, because the weight to fuel of the engine, all of that complicated math. I don't think that would add up to a hill of beans. I mean, we're nowhere close to that. I know we have toy planes that are electric, but I don't think there's a lot of electric boats. I mean, come on, it's electric. That's a little bit scary right there as a boat. But as a plane, we have to figure out better ways. We can't have these easy to swallow, easy to tax type plans. We need to get real. This is a cruel world, and we need to start acting harder. So this happened, of course, this week. You know, I know ultimately that people are going to get hurt by this because they lost money, but it proves an ugly thing. The whole idea of selling stock short. I ain't well versed in that, but all I know is that it's freaking hilarious that as soon as the Wall Street people started having losses, they got the government and websites to shut things down. That's scary to me, because basically all that was happening was people were buying a lot of GameStop stock. That's all they were doing. Did they do it to purposely fuck over people who were trying to sell it short? Yes. But they didn't commit a crime. And for it to get shut down, I don't know what to say. I mean, fair is fair. Like, you do it to us. You know, it's pretty sad when you see that on display. When the poor mess with the rich get mad and something's done about it. But when the rich mess with the poor, they get elected. Stupid. They're trying to change voting. They're trying to change requirements for what can and can't be said about people in politics. Apparently, it's something like you can't talk bad about city government officials. They want to change finance laws. They're trying a whole host of stuff to never give up power. And they're starting with like 40-something executive orders. You know, do you not see the writing on the wall now? You just elected your new masters, and they've told you that it was all copacetic. But we know it wasn't, and we're seeing it in action. You know, they would like to make other states, Washington, D.C. and Puerto Rico, so that they could get more seats. See? Campaign finance laws that make fundraising extremely difficult for challenges. And a new fairness doctrine that would eliminate conservative talk radio. Because they would say, oh, it all has to be balanced. And the other side would just commit to fake balance. But people who are one-sided would go away. That's what you put in there. Gun bans. Well, of course they got to ban guns, because at some point we're going to realize that they're just trying to become kings and queens. You know? And we're going to have to fight back. We're going to have no choice. You know, they want to eliminate charter schools and voucher programs. I mean, my daughter's life is basically saved by online schooling, but I don't get dick. I still have to pay taxes, whatever, you know. There are other little promise here, real quick, is $15 an hour. I'm sure you've seen this all over the place, but the bottom line is it breaks down that they studied it in Seattle, and when they raised the hike to $13 an hour, it reduced the average low-wage workers by an average of $125 per month. So they got paid more per hour, but they got less hours. And that means we're all going to have to pay for it, because that's not necessarily the answer. It's easy to swallow, and it'll result in more taxes, because obviously somebody who's only getting $9 an hour will be paying more taxes when they're getting $15 an hour. But what about all the people above? What about all the people that used to make 16 when the average worker was making 9? Their wages will have to go up. And so on and so on and so on. This is a snowball. This is a slippery slope. And we all know it. And they haven't had a lot of chance to study it because it hasn't really happened all that much. But when they did study it like that, those are the results right there. Less money per month. Less hours. That's just the way you do it. Less hours, Instead of having 3 people, you only have 2 people. That's only going to make the lines longer, wherever we're talking about. And another quick one, man, a lot, but, we were all worried that these lockdowns were some sort of scam. And, if you look at it, it does seem kind of coincidental that as soon as Biden becomes president, they're lifted. Apparently, even the FDA is now recommending hydroxychloroquine. And if those things are true, it's just gross, man. It's just absolutely gross to imagine how much manipulation is going on right now. It's scary. Because what's the end result? We don't know. I mean, this is horrible. This is horrible that they are just stoking the conspiracies. They can claim it's a vaccine, but most people have barely been vaccinated once. So it's not like the vaccines were starting to take hold. But I don't want to get off on that, I just want to move on. This week has really just been a tough one to swallow. You can reopen now, and Newsom shouts at a row of abandoned, dilapidated buildings. Well, yeah, I mean, again, I don't understand why people continue to vote for Democrats when all you have to do is look at California. But when you look at California, for God's sakes, just remember that a lot of things are here because of the sunshine and the beaches. And those are not things that are controlled by the governor. The reason people are leaving is not because they're tired of the weather. Okay? They're not. They're leaving because of the taxes, the lack of leadership. It's becoming unsafe. Many parts are just inundated with homeless people, and they're not doing dick about it other than getting rich. Wanted to feature this guy. He's the one who yelled at the school board that his garbage men were at risk more than the teachers. And then his son also spoke, and that was heartbreaking because they had just moved there. And his son just wanted to make new friends. A little bit blubbery in the car when I heard him on the radio talking about that, and they played the speech by the son, And that's how I feel, and it's hard because, know a lot of teachers. And, it's hard to believe that this is the way they're acting. So, getting into the highlights of the week, BLM up for a Nobel Peace Prize. They're a Marxist organization. They're self-avowed Marxist. They are the enemy of freedom. They are, whatever. It's all effing meaningless, right? It's all effing meaningless. Because nobody's really paying attention to them. They just placate them. Big difference. I include this for all my mechanics out there. Right there. Customers think I'm the best mechanic ever. Me, after punching the dash and the fuel gauge starts working. I feel like that sometimes when I'm working on people's computers. I just reload software and they're just amazed at the difference I made. And I'd said this before that it's weird what's now the rebels, but man, history should not be judged by the present standards. Fish not fair at all. Absolutely not fair at all. And it's also stupid. It's also very ignorant because it just is. It really, really is. Things were different back then. It's just the way it is. I love this one. The polar bear eating the Bernie Sanders sitting in the chair. Bernie Sanders wearing his mittens, getting killed by a polar bear. MLK stepping in for Jim here, calling somebody privileged because they are white is judging someone by the color of their skin. Yeah. It's this isn't some sort of wake up call for me. I've been in a lot of different areas because of my job, and I know it goes both ways. I've seen it. I've seen people, flat out ignore me, flat out pass me. People refuse to serve me. I get it. I know how it feels, but what's going on now is just ridiculous. I do not have white privilege. I am not a white supremacist, and do not have white fragility. You're a fucking idiot if you believe all the shit they're spouting about America and all of those values. Because, look at what went on today or yesterday, as it would be, over in the English Premier League. A couple of players were, severely attacked online with racial epithets. I know what went on over in Europe. Believe me, I watch soccer, so I know that we put an end to stuff a lot faster than they did. So to call us racist is just kind of silly, and it's really ignorant because you just haven't been paying attention. You guys are idiots if you really believe all that shit. But I don't like being told it because I know what's in my heart. So, it pisses me off that we have to even endure it. But endure it we will because, we're Americans. American Revolution was more than a rebellion against England. It was a rebellion against the whole idea that some special anointed person could tell everybody else what to do. Special anointed, I guess. I added the person there. That's Thomas Sowell. And that's where we're at now. Look back on it. Wait a couple of years if you have to, but look back on what Trump did, who he took on, what didn't happen under his watch. He didn't start any wars. We didn't have any real big problems for about three and a half years until the Rona showed up. I think most people were doing all right. Maybe he didn't do enough for certain groups or certain people. Maybe, I don't know. I think he did a great job. His unemployment numbers certainly showed that. And I know that's not all him. But he propelled that forward. He did whatever he could to propel the changes that were coming. He wasn't a racist. He just wasn't. A chunk of his supporters were, but man, I supported the guy. So, was whatever. But now you're going to see the folly of your ways. And unfortunately, the Republicans will probably rule for the next 8. And then everybody will forget what Democrats are back about, and then they'll be back again, like fucking cockroaches. You spray, and for a while they're away, but eventually they come back. But I love this one because I featured this before. The Shadow of Trump as a Lion. Herbert the pervert, the old man from Family Guy there for Biden, and a snake for Kamala, because she is. Her nickname around DC is Heels Up Harris. And, you know what that means, man. She likes to knock the boots, man. And she'll knock the boots with whatever will get her anywhere in this world. And that's what you picked. You picked some really slimy, dirty characters, man. And you could say that about Trump. You could say that. But, man, he was in the fight for us. He was not a politician. You could say whatever you want about him. But even his most ardent detractors cannot say that he was a politician. He was not. He was a businessman and an American citizen, a proud American. And what we got now is a bunch of people who are beholden to special interests and self-interest. Copious out.